I invest myself as much as I can, as sincerely as I can, into the line, until, I convince myself somewhat that the line is my body. That incorporeality is what drawing is about for me, what makes drawing exciting. And if you think about ballerinas, they are permitted by their art to, using their own bodies, embody another kind of form. You see it as a performance starts, she or he becomes just a different being as soon as they begin dancing. And what the body is to the ballet dancer, the line is to me. I invest myself in that line to make myself as able as possible within, the dimensions of the line. This part in particularly has become a sort of canopy for me. I've referred to this section of the drawing before as the crying part of the drawing. It's somewhere, when I felt too heavy, the weight of the gravity of the page working down in this part below, outside of the frame, which you're looking at now. Sometimes I felt too burdened by that weight, I can feel the gravity on my page. And I come up to this canopy and I become very light and airy, so I'm just topping up my nib with ink. It's a little bit scrapey. And as I begin to add lines, there's, I feel liberated. Here the lines are more permitting, they're more permitting chaotic activity in the wrist, they're more welcoming to it. Control the error bars of your line, so to speak. Of course, there's no non-error, but you can control the unruliness of the line. And so when I escape to my airy canopy above in the drawing, I am becoming a little bit more reliant on the line escaping my control. But looking on this, other level, where I zoom out and I look at everything, I see that canopy is almost begging for some kind of mushroom stem to connect it to everything else. And I think that's where I'm going with this. One of the games of this kind of drawing is to create a coherence between all the little histories I've inhabited throughout the tale of this drawing. And I'm increasingly beginning to see drawing as a very narrative event, so, you kind of journey around the page, and I'm like logging that journey. And I'm interested in the creases and folds at the minute, which you often see on, stems and trunks. Though something about this area here is recalling elephants to me. I don't know why. You know, like a really chaotic scene with lots of people riding elephants. That's what's coming to mind right now. I guess these here look a bit like floppy ears of an elephant to me. But it's kind of like a cyclops elephant. Here's his eye. And here's his winding trunk. So little fantasies crop up like that, but I don't remain faithful to them. But I consistently return to the idea that I'm attracted not to concepts or ideas per se, but the initial attitude with which I approach the drawing. So, if this were an experiment, my controlled factor would be my attitude, in as much as I can, really control my attitude. But that's the level at which I think. I don't think, what am I going to draw? I think, who am I going to be when I draw? What role am I going to let myself play? And when I'm working as I am now on this little level, busying away with small lines, then I'm thinking, I'm a little bit stealthy. I'm a stealthy lion. I'm infiltrating all the others. Sometimes I wholly obliterate them, like introduce a spiraling line in there somewhere that kind of creates a skeletal frame where there was none before, like what I'm doing now. Can you see that? Kind of winding through something which I supposed to be meat, I'm not sure how much I enjoy the literal incorporation of this trunk idea, rooting down this canopy. I might decide to just obliterate it later. Let's be light and airy again. Let's cry, let's cascade. At least in these empathy drawings, I really don't want to approach with an idea of what is failure and success, because I want to stay with the drawing. As soon as I start thinking what a success or a failure is, then I have finished the drawing in my heart. And then what is the point in drawing anymore? Then I'm just artificially moving my hand. The sincerity, the test of sincerity is, can I stay faithful to the process? And discovering what that means for me. Sometimes I find myself in this wonderful place. I'm in my room, there's like a dim light, I have wonderful music playing, and I'm so invested in some work I'm doing. And then I sometimes get the desire to, photograph my surroundings or video myself working, just so that there is a record of that event. Not of the work itself, but the event of creating such an environment. One person by herself being able to be almost unlimited in where she is. The space around, seems to expand infinitely all of a sudden. Those silent hours spent stolen away somewhere. Feels like I breached the rules of the role that was assigned to me by the lines I had made previously. Now, I know it's a bit strange to talk about, drawing as the assuming of a role, you know, at different times throughout the making of the drawing, you're putting on different roles. But think about the line itself as a character. The character needs to be played. The lines have character. And so these large, bold decisions here were, in a sense, a breach of the characters I normally play. So there was an excitement involved in that. You build your own laws of physics in your drawing. And sometimes I like to build my laws, you know, what feels heavy, what feels robust, what feels flimsy. These are all like the physics of your drawing. And sometimes I like to build these laws just to sort of delicately break them. And that's what I've done here with these pebbles which seem to fly out, but then every now and again there's some strange pouring and melting going on into the different parts. This creature off here, and I'm thinking about a tube. This tube is just going to lie there and become part of some kind of machinery. There's another tube. I like machines. I like drawing as if I knew something about engineering. You know, what results from pretending? You know? What results from really sincere pretending? You know, a real sort of adoption of superficial traits of a certain character, a character who you could never be. There's a guy who's all ears here. He's got he's like a stuffed toy, like a rabbit, and he's all ears because almost all of his limbs are ears. Something exciting is going on there, but I really don't want to frame some kind of panoramic view with this object. I want this to blend into that depth that is beyond. I don't want it to be too explicit, what is behind, what is in front. I had a corn here, and now it's exploded. Its leaves are just all dried up and flailing outwards. I like this cascading here of the lines, like a waterfall going over the edge.